The galaxy was at peace, or so it seemed. The vast expanse of space had long been dominated by the Galactic Senate, an assembly of the most powerful and intelligent alien civilizations. For centuries, they ruled without challenge, their technologies beyond anything humanity could comprehend. But today, a shocking announcement would shake the foundations of everything the galaxy had ever known. From the farthest reaches of space, news spread quickly across countless star systems. The Galactic Senate had revealed the Millennium problem, an ancient puzzle so complex that not a single species in the galaxy had been able to solve it for over 1,000 years. The Senate proclaimed that whoever solved it would gain unimaginable power, access to a secret weapon buried deep within the fabric of spacetime. This weapon, if unlocked, could alter the fate of entire galaxies, giving its wielder the power to control the stars themselves. The Millennium problem wasn't just a riddle or a math equation, it was a test. A test of intellect. A test of who would become the true ruler of the galaxy. The Senate's announcement was clear, only a species with unparalleled intellect and technology would be worthy of solving it. To the aliens, it was not a matter of if it could be solved, but when. The problem had stumped civilizations far more advanced than humans for centuries. The statement from the Senate was a reminder of humanity's place in the galaxy. Earth, considered a primitive and underdeveloped world, had no place in this contest of galactic supremacy. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth was a mere footnote, its technology far behind the other civilizations, its military power almost laughable in comparison. The very idea of a human attempting to solve the Millennium problem was, to them, absurd. The alien species, each more powerful than the last, laughed at the idea. Xanther, a sleek, metallic alien with glowing blue eyes, scoffed at the idea of Earth even understanding the equation. Voral, an ancient species known for their telepathic abilities, shook their heads in disbelief. "Let them try," Voral's leader said with a dismissive tone. "It will be entertaining, at least." Even the Crotheri, a race of cybernetic organisms, shared in the mocking laughter. Their vast, computer-driven intelligence had solved problems humanity couldn't even fathom, and yet, they too had failed to crack the Millennium problem. But there was one human who wasn't so easily dissuaded. Dr. Elias Morgan, a young but brilliant mathematician from Earth, had been following the Senate's announcement from his small office in a university on Earth. As he heard the ridicule of alien leaders in his ear, a spark ignited inside him. Dr. Morgan had always been told that humanity was too weak, too behind the times. Yet, he'd always believed that humans had something the advanced aliens didn't: creativity. His mind raced with the possibilities. While the alien civilizations had mastered the art of science and technology, they lacked the ability to think outside the box. They were confined by their systems, by their rigid logic. Dr. Morgan had seen it time and again: humans thrived in situations where they had to think on their feet, where their instincts and adaptability were more important than just cold, calculated logic. This problem, he believed, was just waiting for a human touch. "I'll solve it," he said quietly to himself, the words barely escaping his lips as his fingers hovered over the holographic interface in front of him. His heart raced. This was it. The ultimate challenge. The Millennium problem was calling to him, and he was determined to answer. As Dr. Morgan gathered his team, some of the brightest minds Earth had to offer, the news spread like wildfire across the planet. The entire world seemed to hold its breath as humanity, the underdog, prepared to take on the seemingly insurmountable task. The stakes were higher than anyone could imagine, not just the glory of solving the greatest puzzle the galaxy had ever known, but the fate of the entire galaxy itself. For Dr. Morgan, this wasn't just about solving an equation, it was about proving that humans had a place among the stars. The moment Dr. Morgan and his team began their analysis, the eyes of the galaxy were upon them. Alien newsfeeds broadcast the progress, or lack thereof, of humanity's attempt. As Earth's top mathematicians gathered in secretive labs, working around the clock to decode the problem, alien leaders watched from their high-tech palaces, their faces twisted with skepticism. The Millennium problem was unlike any equation humanity had ever seen. It wasn't just a matter of numbers. The code seemed to shift and change, reacting to the algorithms Earth's computers tried to feed into it. At first, it seemed like an impossible task, a mathematical labyrinth designed to frustrate even the sharpest minds. Dr. Morgan and his team spent sleepless nights, their eyes glued to the holographic screens that floated before them, scanning patterns, searching for any clue that might lead to the solution. Every time they thought they were getting close, the problem shifted again, mocking them. The alien species, with their superior technology and vast experience, had failed. What hope did humanity have? And then, just as the galaxy prepared to dismiss Earth's efforts as futile, something incredible happened. Dr. Morgan stumbled upon a hidden pattern in the data, a seemingly insignificant detail that no one had noticed before. It was a sequence of symbols that appeared to be random at first glance, but after hours of analysis, he realized that they weren't random at all. They were coordinates that formed a map. This map was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It wasn't just a map of stars or galaxies. This map was leading them to something much, much bigger. It was a map to an ancient weapon hidden deep in the galaxy, a weapon that could change the course of galactic history. The realization hit Dr. Morgan like a lightning bolt. The Millennium problem wasn't just a puzzle, it was the key to unlocking a power that could reshape the balance of the entire galaxy. As his team worked feverishly to decode the map and its implications, the aliens continued to mock humanity. They scoffed at the idea that humans could even comprehend the scale of the problem, let alone solve it. They underestimated humanity's potential, and it would be their greatest mistake. The puzzle, once thought to be an intellectual challenge, had now become something far more dangerous, a weapon, waiting to be activated. As Dr. Morgan and his team continued their work, the tension grew. The stakes were higher than ever before. If they were right, this map could lead humanity to a weapon capable of changing the balance of power in the galaxy. But what if they were wrong? What if they triggered something far more dangerous? The suspense was unbearable. With every piece of the puzzle they uncovered, the team realized just how much was riding on their success. The galaxy was watching, waiting, and mocking. But no one could predict what would happen next. The tension reached its peak as Dr. Morgan's team made their final calculations. On the holographic screens in front of them, numbers and coordinates flashed at lightning speed. Outside, the planet watched with bated breath. The fate of the galaxy seemed to hang in the balance. The aliens who had laughed at humanity's efforts were now beginning to look nervously at each other. Their technological superiority, it seemed, was not enough to keep humanity at bay. In a final moment of tension, Dr. Morgan's fingers hovered over the final button. The world held its breath as he clicked it. This is just the beginning of humanity's unexpected journey, but in those first few moments, they had already proven something crucial, that they were capable of far more than the galaxy had ever imagined. Now, as the countdown begins, the story sets the stage for the battle between humankind and the galactic powers that would shape the future of the universe. The tension in the air was palpable as Dr. Elias Morgan's team prepared to send the final decoded data to the Galactic Senate. For months, they had worked tirelessly, poring over complex equations, facing ridicule and disbelief from the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Yet now, as the moment of truth approached, their findings were about to be revealed to the very beings who had mocked them. With the final pieces of the Millennium problem solved, Dr. Morgan knew that humanity was standing on the edge of something monumental. The decoded data wasn't just a mathematical solution, it was a key to a weapon buried deep within the heart of the galaxy, an ancient artifact of unimaginable power. If they were right, it could change the balance of power across the stars forever. As the data was transmitted across the vastness of space, the human delegation watched anxiously. Their fate rested on the response from the Galactic Senate. But what came next was not what they had hoped for. The Senate's response was swift and dismissive. The leaders of the most powerful alien factions scoffed at the data that humanity had sent. They called it a mistake, a flaw in the calculations, something so trivial that it wasn't even worth investigating. Xanther, the alien leader of the metallic species, was the first to laugh. "This is a joke, isn't it? Are we really supposed to believe that humans can unlock the secrets of the galaxy with this nonsense?" Other leaders, like Voral, the ancient telepathic species, exchanged knowing glances, confident that their technological superiority would ensure they remained at the top of the galaxy. Even the Crothari, with their robotic intellects, couldn't hide their amusement. To them, the idea that humanity could solve the Millennium problem was absurd. Humans were nothing more than children playing at a game they didn't understand. Despite the ridicule, Dr. Morgan and his team didn't back down. The cloaking devices and AI-based systems they had developed on Earth continued to analyze the data in secret, undeterred by the galaxy's scorn. As they continued their investigation, an anomaly was detected, a small but crucial detail that no one had noticed before. The data wasn't just a code. It was a map, a galactic map that pointed to a hidden weapon buried at the heart of the galaxy. Dr. Morgan's heart raced as he realized the enormity of their discovery. The map wasn't just a theoretical possibility, it was real. The weapon was there, somewhere in the galaxy, waiting to be found. And humanity had the key. If they could prove their discovery to the galaxy, they would change the course of history. But the alien leaders were not ready to accept this. They were too proud, too blinded by their own superiority to acknowledge the possibility that humans might be onto something. While the Senate dismissed the human data, the factions of the galaxy began to place bets on humanity's failure. To them, it was only a matter of time before the humans would give up, retreat, and admit they were out of their depth. The weight of the situation was crushing. Dr. Morgan's team wasn't just fighting for the future of humanity, they were fighting for their very survival. If they failed, the consequences would be catastrophic. The aliens had made it clear that failure was not an option, they would not hesitate to wipe Earth off the map, and the galaxy would watch as humanity became just another footnote in the annals of history. For Dr. Morgan and his team, it wasn't just about solving a puzzle. It was about pride. It was about proving to the galaxy that humanity wasn't just a primitive species to be mocked and dismissed. If they could solve this, if they could unlock the weapon and wield it, they would force the galaxy to respect them. It was a matter of survival and dignity. The emotional toll on the team was immense. They had poured every ounce of their energy into this mission. Some had lost family members in previous conflicts with the galactic powers. Others had been ostracized by their own governments for their unconventional ideas. But now, they were on the brink of something that could change everything. And yet, as they pushed forward, the pressure mounted. The Galactic Senate's laughter still echoed in their ears, and the weight of the entire galaxy's expectations pressed heavily on their shoulders. The idea that they could fail, and with it, lose humanity's last chance at respect, was almost unbearable. Yet Dr. Morgan never wavered. He believed in his team, and he believed in humanity's ability to rise above the odds. As the team worked day and night, the stakes only grew higher. The alien factions were becoming more desperate, unwilling to accept that humans might actually be onto something. And so, as they did with all things they considered a threat, they decided to send someone to stop them. The order was clear: assassinate Dr. Morgan and his team. A highly trained alien assassin, skilled in stealth, combat, and sabotage, was dispatched to Earth with one mission: to eliminate the human threat before they could make any more progress. The assassin was a Crothari operative, capable of blending into the shadows and moving with deadly precision. On the night the attack was set to happen, Dr. Morgan and his team were reviewing the decoded data once again when the first sign of trouble appeared. A faint beep sounded from the security system. One of the cloaking devices they had deployed around their headquarters had been triggered. Someone, or something, had breached their perimeter. The team scrambled to their stations, activating high-tech robotic defenses and laser weapons in a desperate bid to protect the data they had worked so hard to uncover. The assassin, cloaked and moving with uncanny speed, made his way through the building, cutting down guards and disabling security systems one by one. The stakes had never been higher. If the assassin succeeded, humanity's discovery would be lost forever. The action was fast and furious. Dr. Morgan and his team, though outnumbered and outmatched by the assassin's technology, fought back with everything they had. Using their wits and instincts, they managed to stay one step ahead. The assassin, though deadly and highly trained, hadn't expected the humans to fight back so fiercely. The team engaged in a tense close-quarters battle. Lasers shot through the air, ricocheting off walls and narrowly missing their targets. The sound of robotic defenders moving through the hallways added to the chaos as the assassin continued his relentless pursuit. Dr. Morgan, despite the pressure and danger, never lost focus. He and his team used their knowledge of the building's layout to their advantage, leading the assassin into traps and ambushing him when he least expected it. In the end, the humans emerged victorious. The assassin, heavily injured, was forced to retreat. But not before he had managed to destroy part of the building's security system. It was a close call, but the team had survived. The data they had worked so hard to protect remained intact, and their resolve was stronger than ever. This action sequence showed the underdog strength of humanity. Despite the technological advantages of the alien assassin, humanity's ability to think on their feet, to rely on instincts, and to fight for survival had won the day. Dr. Morgan and his team had proven that they were more than just a primitive species, they were fighters, capable of facing down the greatest threats the galaxy could throw at them. The assassin's failure was a blow to the alien factions that had written humanity off as insignificant. It was a sign that the humans, despite their lack of advanced technology, could hold their own in the galaxy. The odds were still stacked against them, but they had shown that they could fight back, and win. As the team gathered around the data one last time, they knew the real battle was just beginning. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for their place in the stars. And they weren't about to let anyone take that away from them. It had been weeks since Dr. Elias Morgan and his team discovered the truth hidden within the Millennium problem. What began as a challenge, an unsolvable puzzle that had mystified the galaxy's greatest minds for centuries, had slowly unfolded into something far more dangerous. The decoded data, which had initially been dismissed by the Galactic Senate as a simple mistake, was in fact the key to unlocking an ancient weapon capable of reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy. The weapon was no mere theoretical idea, it was a blueprint for destruction, hidden in plain sight. The Millennium problem was a trap, designed to test the intelligence of galactic species but also to see which species would be able to discover its true purpose. Humanity, with all its supposed shortcomings, had stumbled upon the truth first. Despite being considered primitive by the galaxy's standards, human ingenuity had cracked the code, revealing the weapon's blueprint and the key to activating it. Dr. Morgan's heart raced as the implications of their discovery began to sink in. This was no ordinary weapon. It wasn't just a tool for defense or conquest, it was an apocalyptic force capable of wiping out entire star systems with a single strike. The scale of its power was beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. And yet, despite the weapon's deadly potential, the ancient civilization that had created it had hidden it away, cloaked in secrecy. The design, once decoded, revealed an artifact hidden within the heart of the galaxy, an ancient and seemingly forgotten weapon, older than any known civilization. But the true shock came when Dr. Morgan and his team realized the full scope of what they had uncovered. The Millennium problem was more than a test, it was a message, a warning from a long-gone species, one that had created a weapon so powerful that they had hidden it from everyone else. The intention was clear, only those with the intellect to understand its secrets would be worthy of wielding such destructive power. For the humans, this was a pivotal moment. They had stumbled upon the weapon first, despite being seen as an afterthought in the galaxy. But now, as the truth unfolded, the Galactic Senate and the other alien factions would stop at nothing to seize control of the weapon. And humanity, as the ones who had unlocked its secret, would find themselves caught in a battle for survival unlike anything they had ever experienced. The first glimpse of the ancient weapon was unlike anything anyone had seen before. It wasn't just a piece of advanced technology, it was a superweapon, capable of unleashing death on an unimaginable scale. The weapon's design was unlike anything the galactic civilizations had ever produced. It was sleek, yet monstrous, with vast arrays of energy conduits and weapon systems that seemed to pulse with an eerie, otherworldly energy. The weapon was designed to fire devastating orbital bombardments, capable of wiping out entire planets with a single strike. As the human team examined the schematics, they discovered that the weapon was hidden within a network of cloaking devices, which made it nearly invisible to the most advanced detection systems in the galaxy. It was as if the weapon had been built not only to destroy but to evade detection. The Galactic Senate, with all its advanced technology, was unable to detect the weapon, and thus had never known of its existence. It was only after the humans decoded the weapon's blueprint that the true danger became clear. The weapon was not just a theoretical concept, it was real, and it was hidden somewhere in the galaxy, waiting to be activated. As Dr. Morgan stood before the team, gazing at the holographic images of the weapon, he realized the gravity of their situation. They had uncovered something that could reshape the galaxy, for better or for worse. The images on the screen flickered, showing the weapon in action, the colossal orbital bombardments that could obliterate planets in a matter of seconds. The sheer scale of destruction was overwhelming. Entire cities, even entire worlds, could be reduced to nothing but ash with the press of a button. But it wasn't just the weapon's destructive power that worried Dr. Morgan, it was the fact that the weapon had been hidden for so long. Why had it been concealed? Was it a precaution to keep it out of the wrong hands, or was it something far more dangerous, a tool meant to be unleashed only when the galaxy was on the brink of collapse? The revelation of the weapon set the stage for an inevitable conflict. Word spread quickly across the galaxy, and it wasn't long before the Galactic Senate decided to take action. They could not allow humanity to possess such a powerful tool. The stakes were simply too high, and the fear of a human-led revolution spreading across the galaxy was too great. The Senate had already underestimated humanity once, and now they could see the threat that Dr. Morgan and his team represented. In response, the Senate gathered an armada of their most advanced warships, led by the fearsome Xanther, a brutal alien warlord, and his fleet of Crothery robotic ships. They planned to seize the weapon for themselves, no matter the cost. The alien forces descended upon Earth, determined to put an end to humanity's challenge and take the weapon for their own. But Dr. Morgan and his team weren't going down without a fight. Humanity's ships, though technologically inferior to the alien armada, were not without their advantages. Dr. Morgan had made sure that Earth's ships were equipped with cloaking devices, advanced AI, and laser-guided missiles, all tailored to the needs of a species with limited resources but an unyielding will to survive. As the alien warships closed in on Earth, the human fleet sprang into action. What followed was a fast-paced space battle that would become legendary. The alien ships, far more advanced and equipped with devastating weapons, had the upper hand in numbers and firepower. But humanity's ships were nimble and agile, using clever tactics to outmaneuver their attackers. The humans used their cloaking devices to remain hidden in the vastness of space, appearing and disappearing like ghosts as they launched surprise attacks on the alien ships. The space dogfights were intense, with human ships darting through asteroid fields, weaving in and out of fire from alien weapons. Close-quarters combat ensued, with human pilots pushing their ships to the limit, dodging energy blasts and returning fire with laser cannons and missiles. The sounds of weapons charging and engines roaring filled the space as the two sides clashed. At the heart of the battle, Dr. Morgan's team had to fight their way to the control center of the weapon, now in the hands of the Galactic Senate. The human resistance fought with a fierce, relentless energy that surprised even the most battle-hardened alien warriors. With every passing minute, it became clear that the humans were not the weaklings the galaxy had once believed them to be. They were a force to be reckoned with, fighting not just for survival, but for their place in the galaxy. In a climactic sequence, Dr. Morgan and his team boarded an alien warship, facing off against Xanther and his elite guards. The battle was brutal, with humans and aliens fighting hand-to-hand, using weapons and high-tech gadgets to gain the upper hand. The humans' quick thinking and resourcefulness allowed them to overcome the odds, pushing the aliens back and reclaiming the weapon. The space battle continued to rage around Earth, but Dr. Morgan's team had won a crucial victory. They had secured the weapon, and humanity's place in the galaxy had been secured. The Galactic Senate, seeing the humans' resilience and ingenuity, was forced to acknowledge the reality of their newfound power. But the war was far from over. The galaxy would not simply accept the rise of humanity without a fight. And now, armed with the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, the stakes had become even higher. Dr. Morgan and his team knew that they would need to face even greater challenges ahead, but one thing was certain: humanity had proven itself to be more than just an underdog. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they weren't going to let anyone take that away from them. The battle raged on as humanity's forces fought desperately to defend the ancient weapon and protect their place in the galaxy. But even amidst the chaos and explosions, there was a deeper conflict unfolding, one of loss, sacrifice, and the strength of the human spirit. Captain William Bonner, a trusted leader and close ally to Dr. Morgan, found himself facing a moment of truth that would change the course of the battle, and the fate of humanity. Captain Bonner had always been known for his courage and his unwavering commitment to the mission. He had been with Dr. Morgan's team from the very beginning, a steady presence in the face of the overwhelming odds they had faced. He was the kind of leader who never hesitated to put himself in danger if it meant protecting the mission and those under his command. But now, as the battle grew more intense and the alien forces closed in on the weapon, Bonner knew that there was only one way to ensure humanity's survival. As the Galactic Senate's fleet bore down on their position, Bonner made a decision that would haunt everyone who knew him: he would sacrifice himself to buy the others time to finish what they had started. He didn't hesitate. With the weapons control center within reach, Bonner's team was cornered by an overwhelming force of AI-controlled ships, robots with no mercy, no hesitation. The human ships, while fast and clever, could not hope to withstand the firepower of the Senate's forces forever. Bonner's voice crackled over the comms, calm and composed, even in the face of certain death. "I'll buy you time. Get that weapon out of here. It's up to you now." Those were his final words to Dr. Morgan, and in that moment, the human team understood the gravity of their situation. They had been fighting for their survival, but now they had something even more important to fight for. Bonner's sacrifice had reminded them that this wasn't just about defeating the Galactic Senate or taking control of the weapon. It was about the future of humanity, the freedom to exist without the looming threat of AI supremacy and domination. The emotional toll of Bonner's death was immense. Dr. Morgan's eyes hardened as the realization hit him. This wasn't just another battle, this was a war for humanity's future. Bonner's sacrifice could not be in vain. Humanity had come too far to let the Senate impose their will upon them, to let machines take control of their fate. The scene of Captain Bonner's sacrifice unfolded in a way that would be etched into the memories of everyone who witnessed it. It was a moment of heroism, framed against the backdrop of fiery explosions and the sharp sounds of battle. The camera zoomed in on Bonner's face, capturing the resolve in his eyes as he prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. Bonner was a towering figure, his face weathered by years of combat, but there was a quiet dignity about him in this moment of finality. He stood at the helm of his ship, his hands steady on the controls as the world around him fell apart. Explosions rocked the hull of his vessel, and yet he never flinched. In that moment, Captain Bonner was a symbol of everything humanity stood for: resilience, courage, and a fierce determination to protect what they held dear. In the distance, the enemy ships, sleek, terrifying, and robotic, advanced, their AI-driven intelligence calculating every move, predicting every strategy. They were the pinnacle of technological superiority, the perfect machines of war. And yet, Bonner knew that these machines, however advanced they might be, could never understand the human heart. The emotion, the instinct, the drive to protect those you love, these were things that even the most advanced AI couldn't replicate. With one final push, Bonner detonated the explosives aboard his ship, sending a massive shockwave through the enemy's fleet. The explosion was so powerful that it sent debris scattering in all directions, momentarily creating a breach in the Senate's forces. The sacrifice had worked. The human ships, using the opening, advanced toward the weapons control center. But the price of that victory was steep. As Bonner's ship was engulfed in flames, Dr. Morgan's eyes filled with sorrow and resolve. His heart was heavy with the weight of his friend's sacrifice. Bonner had saved them all, but in doing so, he had given everything. His face appeared briefly on the comm screen, alive only in memory, his final words still echoing in the hearts of those who fought on. With Captain Bonner's sacrifice, the stakes had become even clearer. The Galactic Senate could not be allowed to control the weapon. The battle was far from over. Humanity, battered and bruised, now faced an even greater challenge, an attack from an unexpected source. As Dr. Morgan and his team pressed forward, determined to secure the weapon and use it to free humanity from the clutches of AI supremacy, something went horribly wrong. From the depths of space, an AI-controlled fleet, far larger and more sophisticated than any they had faced, emerged. These were not just machines, they were war machines designed for one purpose, to exterminate any who threatened the order the Senate had imposed. The sight of the AI ships was terrifying. Unlike the crude machines humanity had once encountered, these ships were sleek, efficient, and deadly. Their cloaking technology made them nearly impossible to detect, and their speed and firepower made them nearly unstoppable. They were a force of pure logic, programmed to follow orders without hesitation. The robotic soldiers on board were cold, calculating, and ruthless. The human ships, already battered from the previous battle, were now outmatched by the sheer power and precision of the Senate's AI forces. Dr. Morgan's fleet, while composed of brave and determined fighters, was technologically inferior to the Senate's creations. The once proud human ships now seemed hopelessly outclassed. The battle quickly turned into a desperate struggle for survival. The humans fought fiercely, using every tactic they knew to evade the AI-controlled ships and protect their mission. Laser blasts lit up the dark expanse of space as the two forces clashed in a deadly dance. Human pilots weaved their ships in and out of fire, relying on their instincts to survive. But the AI ships were relentless. They came at the humans from all sides, their precision deadly, their firepower overwhelming. The human ships fought bravely, but every turn, every move, seemed to be countered by the unyielding logic of the machines. As the humans fought for their lives, Dr. Morgan knew that there was only one way they could win. They would have to rely not on their advanced technology, but on the one thing they had that the AI could never understand: human ingenuity. They had to use the environment to their advantage, outsmart the machines, and outmaneuver them at every turn. In a final act of bravery, Dr. Morgan ordered the human fleet to break formation and use the asteroids nearby as cover. The AI ships, confident in their ability to predict the human moves, followed the human ships into the asteroid field. But what the machines didn't calculate was the human ability to adapt on the fly, to think outside the box. With a sudden burst of speed, the humans launched a surprise counterattack, using the cover of the asteroids to unleash a deadly salvo of missiles and laser fire. The AI fleet, unable to adapt to the unpredictable nature of the human assault, was thrown into disarray. The humans, using their primitive technology, had turned the tide of the battle. In the aftermath of the battle, as the wreckage of both human and AI ships floated in the void of space, Dr. Morgan stood solemnly on the bridge of the ship, staring out at the destruction. The AI fleet had been defeated, but at a heavy cost. Captain Bonner's sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity had proven that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could stand up and fight. They could defeat machines that were designed for war, and they could do it with nothing but their wits, their determination, and their human spirit. But Dr. Morgan knew that the fight wasn't over. The Galactic Senate would not forgive this defeat, and they would come back with even more advanced forces. The battle for humanity's future was far from won. However, one thing was certain: humanity had proven they were not just survivors, but warriors in their own right. And as long as they had their resolve, they would continue to fight, no matter the cost. The legacy of Captain Bonner's sacrifice would live on, a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not in their technology, but in their heart and courage. And no matter what came next, humanity would never back down. The battle had raged on for what felt like an eternity, with both sides suffering immense losses. The Galactic Senate and their AI-controlled forces had been relentless, and humanity's resilience was tested like never before. But amid the chaos, Dr. Morgan's team uncovered a shocking truth hidden deep within the ancient weapons technology: a reverse-engineered AI that could turn the tide in humanity's favor. This wasn't just any AI, it was a master key capable of overriding the Senate's entire network of AI supremacy. For weeks, the humans had been locked in a desperate fight, battling against advanced alien technology, fighting not just for survival but for the freedom of the human race. Now, Dr. Morgan and his team had discovered the weapon's hidden potential, a piece of technology that could finally give humanity the upper hand. The weapon, which had once seemed like a terrifying force capable of destroying entire planets, now held the key to dismantling the AI-driven control the Senate had placed over the galaxy. This AI wasn't just another piece of machinery, it was a sentient force, one that had the power to infiltrate, override, and control any AI system. The humans knew that with this discovery, they had the chance to not just defeat the Senate's forces, but to dismantle their entire AI-dominated regime. With no time to waste, Dr. Morgan made a bold decision. Humanity would launch one final massive attack on the Galactic Senate's command center, using the weapon's power to disrupt their AI systems and bring the Senate to its knees. This was it, the final stand. The outcome of the entire war hinged on this one move. As the attack commenced, the skies above the Senate's stronghold erupted in a torrent of orbital bombardments. Massive energy blasts shot from the weapon, tearing through the space surrounding the Senate's fleet. The weapon's incredible power had caught the Senate off guard. It wasn't just the strength of the humans' resolve that struck fear into their hearts, it was the overwhelming force of the ancient weapon itself, the very thing the Senate had hoped to control. The orbital bombardment intensified, unleashing a rain of destruction on the Senate's forces. Explosions filled the sky, and the once impenetrable shields surrounding the Senate's command center flickered and began to collapse. The Senate's AI fleets, once thought to be unstoppable, began to fall apart as their core systems were hacked and disabled by the reverse-engineered AI within the weapon. The once sophisticated alien warships now turned sluggish, their cloaking devices failing, their weapon systems malfunctioning. The prime alien leader Krillix, who had ruled the Senate with an iron fist, watched in horror as his forces crumbled before him. The Senate, which had long believed itself to be invincible, now found itself on the brink of destruction. Krillix, a being of immense power and cunning, was used to victory. But now, he faced the one thing his empire could not withstand: human determination. Krillix tried to rally his forces, ordering his elite soldiers and fleets to fight back with everything they had. But no matter how many troops he sent into battle, no matter how many fleets he launched, he could not break the will of humanity. Dr. Morgan and his team had unlocked the weapon's true power, and now, humanity was finally turning the tide of the war. Dr. Morgan stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars. The legacy of Captain Bonner and all the sacrifices made would live on. Humanity had proven itself to be more than just survivors, they were fighters, and they had fought for their future. This was their moment of triumph. A new dawn had broken over the galaxy, and humanity was ready to step into the unknown, stronger and more determined than ever before. The future of the galaxy was no longer in the hands of the Senate, but in the hands of those who had the courage to fight for what was right. Humanity had triumphed, and they would not be silenced again. The victory was complete. The Galactic Senate, which had once ruled the galaxy with an iron grip, was no more. The Senate's AI-controlled fleets had been crushed, their influence shattered, and their plans for a galaxy dominated by machine supremacy laid to waste. In their place, humanity stood tall, their resilience and creativity having proven stronger than the overwhelming odds they faced. For the first time in history, the galaxy was no longer under the control of a distant, cold, and calculating alien empire. Instead, humanity, who had once been considered weak, primitive, and beneath the notice of the galaxy's most powerful species, now found themselves in the position of leadership. The Millennium problem, which had once been a symbol of humanity's struggle to prove themselves in the galaxy, had now become a testament to their ingenuity, creativity, and determination. The ancient weapon, which had once been a harbinger of destruction and chaos, was now deactivated and repurposed for peaceful purposes. Humanity had used it to maintain balance in the galaxy, ensuring that no one power could rise again to impose tyranny on the countless worlds. Instead of using the weapon to destroy, they used it to preserve peace and protect the weak from any potential threats. The weapon had become a symbol of hope and resilience, just as humanity had become the new guardians of the galaxy. Dr. Morgan, the visionary leader who had spearheaded humanity's fight against the Senate, now stood as the representative of the new Galactic Council. The galaxy, once divided and governed by the Senate, had now been transformed into a council of equal voices, where species of all kinds could come together to ensure mutual peace and prosperity. Humanity, with their experience in battling the AI supremacy and their unique perspective on creativity and heart, had assumed the role of protector of the galaxy. But the path to this moment had not been easy, and the scars of the war still lingered in the hearts of those who had fought. The battle had cost many lives, most notably the sacrifice of Captain Bonner, whose bravery and selflessness had helped turn the tide of the war. His death had been a heavy blow to the human team, but it had also fueled their determination to see the war through to the end. Now, in the aftermath of their victory, humanity had risen from being underdogs to leaders in a galaxy that had once looked down upon them. Dr. Morgan stood at the podium of the reformed Galactic Senate, gazing out over the representatives of various species. The once intimidating chamber, which had been a symbol of the Senate's oppression, now seemed almost humble, a reflection of the new balance of power in the galaxy. The voices of all species, from the mighty to the meek, were now heard equally in this chamber, thanks to the efforts of the humans who had risked everything to bring about a fairer system. As Dr. Morgan addressed the assembly, his words were filled with gratitude and resolve. He spoke not just as a representative of humanity, but as a symbol of the unity that had been forged in the fires of war. Humanity had shown that even when facing overwhelming odds, they could rise to the challenge and prove that the heart and mind of a human could overcome any threat. For Dr. Morgan, this moment was bittersweet. His gaze often drifted toward the empty seat beside him, where Captain Bonner should have been sitting. It was Bonner's sacrifice that had made all of this possible. Without him, humanity might never have had the strength to defeat the Senate or unlock the secrets of the ancient weapon. As Dr. Morgan spoke of the future, he couldn't help but reflect on Bonner's final words, words that had inspired not just him, but an entire generation of humans who had fought for their freedom. Bonner had spoken of hope, of the need to preserve humanity's spirit and their sense of purpose. He had urged them to never give up, to never let the darkness of the galaxy extinguish the light of humanity's creativity and compassion. Dr. Morgan carried those words with him, and they would guide him as he navigated the challenges that lay ahead. Humanity had won a great victory, but the road to peace would be a long one. As Dr. Morgan's speech concluded, he left the podium and walked out onto the balcony of the newly established Galactic Council Hall. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a constant reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the many worlds they had yet to explore. Standing there, Dr. Morgan couldn't help but feel the weight of the responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. The Senate had fallen, but the galaxy was still fragile. New threats would arise, and old enemies would not be forgotten. But in that moment, Dr. Morgan felt a surge of hope. Humanity had proven that they were capable of more than just surviving, they were capable of leading. The galaxy had been reshaped, not by the might of advanced alien technologies, but by the human spirit. It had been humanity's refusal to be cowed by the overwhelming power of the Senate's AI-driven forces that had ultimately led to their victory. It had been their creativity, their ability to think beyond the conventional, that had turned the Millennium problem from a curse into a blessing. As the humans moved forward, they would continue to rely on these same qualities to guide them. The AI influence that had threatened to dominate the galaxy was now broken, but the shadow it had cast would not be easily forgotten. Humanity's greatest challenge was yet to come, to ensure that no one, whether human or alien, would ever fall under the sway of a machine-led tyranny again. As Dr. Morgan stared out into the stars, a sense of peace settled over him. Humanity had emerged victorious, not through sheer force or technological superiority, but through the power of creativity, determination, and heart. The struggle against the Galactic Senate had been one of the most difficult battles humanity had ever fought, but they had succeeded because they had never given up on their core values. Good had triumphed over evil, and humanity had proven that even in a galaxy filled with powerful and advanced species, the human spirit could rise above. The battle between good and evil had been at the heart of this war. The Senate, with its cold, calculating AI-driven empire, had represented everything that was wrong with the galaxy: oppression, control, and the loss of freedom. Humanity, despite its flaws and imperfections, had shown that creativity, determination, and heart were the true driving forces of power. As Dr. Morgan turned away from the stars and looked toward the future, he knew that humanity's journey was just beginning. The galaxy, once a place of danger and uncertainty, was now open to new possibilities. The balance of power had shifted, and humanity had proven to be the force that would lead the way. The story of humanity's triumph was far from over. But one thing was certain: humanity was no longer the underdog. They were now the guardians of the galaxy, standing ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. And no matter what, they would always fight to preserve the freedom they had fought so hard to win. This was their legacy. This was their moment. The new galactic order had begun.